Welcome to the Escape into Board Games podcast.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Matt.
And this is our escape from the real world where we talk about board games. In this episode, we talk about fantastic fillers.
So please join us for the Escape into Board Games podcast. Some games are fresh, snappy, and easy to learn, but have some depth.
Often with few components, they're fast to set up and friendly to new players.
They're great for accommodating a variety of players' ages, skills, or number of players.
It would be foolish to focus just on how these games can fill the space between other games, when these fillers are fantastic. So filler games, Matt, the term comes from...
Filling up the time between two other games, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think that the term started when we've got a half an hour before our friend comes over and joins us for this big game that we're going to play.
We got a few minutes to kill.
Yeah, we've got 30 minutes. Let's just play this little time filler right now.
Yeah, so it's got to be easy to learn.
Yeah.
Can't spend a lot of time teaching it. It's got to be pretty intuitive. It's got to be forgiving to the players who haven't played it before.
Yeah.
But still fun to play for the guy who brought it, right? The player who's played it 1,000 times. There's got to be something there otherwise.
Yeah. It might be, you've got the end of the night. I don't have to leave for another half an hour. We can play this quick little game.
Yeah. It
should be a game that you don't have to spend 25 minutes teaching.
Yeah.
Even if the game takes 10 minutes, it's not a filler game then.
Exactly.
It should be a quick teach.
Also, the game has to fit in your bag, right? You take your Catans and your Mystic Veils and your, Terra Mystica Scythe, and you put it all in your bag, and then you've got, I could fit a deck of cards in here. Oh, love letter. I'll just shove that in there.
Yeah. Generally, these games are a smaller box.
Right? Fills up that little space in your bag.
Yeah, they take up less room on the shelf. Personally, I have a shelf of small filler games. I really like filler games, so I've got a lot of them.
It's a drawer in my house.
Yeah, it's a whole shelf of them at mine. But, that's good. Everybody likes a filler game, I think.
Ghost Blitz. Ghost Blitz is a real-time, pattern recognition, speed-matching kids game for 2 to 8 players, ages 8 and up. It plays in about 20 minutes. It was designed by Jacques Zemet and published by Zoc Verlag. Ghost Blitz is a speed-matching game where players try to identify the correct object and then grab it off the table as quickly as they can. Ghost Blitz consists of a deck of cards and 5 wooden objects: a blue book, a green bottle, a red chair, a gray mouse, and a white ghost. And these components, I gotta say,
they're amazing.
They're fantastic, right? They're solid wood, they're nicely painted. Players are reaching and grabbing them, right, as quickly as they can, and often knocking them off the table. I've knocked every piece off the table, like clear across the room. They're banging off stuff, and they're fine. We're not throwing them, but they do get knocked around, and they've survived.
They're nice, thick, chunky,
exactly,
wooden, durable pieces. They're really nice. They're fun to play with and grab for. They're really well made. I like the pieces a lot.
Yeah. On a turn, the top card of the deck is turned over to reveal a picture depicting 2 of the 5 objects. There's always 2 objects on the card, but they're colored in 2 possible ways. Sometimes one of the objects is the wrong color, and the first player to grab the object that is the correct color wins the card. But sometimes both of the objects are the wrong color, and then the first player to grab the object that is neither depicted nor their color represented wins the card.
Right.
What I mean by that is if you draw a card with a gray bottle and a red ghost, well, the mouse is gray and the chair is red. So then the first player to grab the blue book, which isn't on the card, in shape or color, would win the card.
So It's what's not there on the card, basically, is what you're looking for.
Exactly, right? Yeah, it's So half the cards are, there's the green bottle. I have to grab the green bottle, right? First player to grab the green bottle. But the other half of the cards is, wait, what's not? And it's that switch, right? It's that twist that you have to make on every card. You don't know what you're looking at until it's like,
It's the hardest part of this game to teach to new players.
It is,
if you see the red chair, grab the red chair. Straightforward.
Yeah.
But if you see an item that isn't the right color, then you have to look at all the other items and see what isn't there and grab that. That is the brain twisting, hit me in the head now kind of thing that this game does. And it's
kind of punishing to the new player a little bit, for sure.
It can be, yeah.
But I find kids in particular, like school-aged kids, even preschool, can sometimes just, they get clicks for them. And then they're just like, bang, 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 bang. It's like Spot It in that way, right? It's just the next level Spot It, I think.
That's true, yeah.
But it's fantastic with a group of adults as well, because, it's one of these, it's a mechanism you don't see, right? It's the pattern recognition kind of thing and the speed grab. And it levels the playing field between all the players. I find it's really great that way.
Yeah.
I will say it is very difficult for colorblind players. A buddy of mine is red-green colorblind, can't play this game at all.
I had never thought of that. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate for this particular game, this one and Ghost Blitz 2, which is basically the same game, but with 5 different objects.
Right. And a bathtub and a hairbrush and
everything is bathroom themed. It's really funny.
Yeah.
There's like a towel or something or a carpet. It's fun to actually have both. I have them both.
Cool.
I keep both copies in the same box. I keep the cards separated, but you can shuffle the decks together, have all 10 objects on the table.
Wow.
And then you have to first identify which set are we dealing with? Ghost Blitz 1, Ghost Blitz 2.
Okay.
Then you have to figure out, are we looking for the thing that's colored the right thing? Are we looking for that switch, that opposite?
Have you played it like that often?
Yeah, we do. It's the next level for sure.
Oh, nice. I would like to try that sometime with you.
It's tricky.
I've played both versions. They're the same game. I'm not sure I prefer one over the other, but I've never combined them. I think that would be interesting.
There's no sense in having both of them if you're not going to play them together, because they are the same game.
Right.
There is Ghost Blitz 5 to 12.
Yes.
It's in French. It's not called 5 to 12. That's the English translation. But it's 9 objects.
Oh.
And it gets really complicated because now the image contains 3 things. And there's a mirror involved. And I never got to this point when I was playing it, because we would go to the cafe with my youngest and we would get it off the shelf and just play like the basic version. But there's a mirror. And if things are reflected in the mirror, you don't grab them. You have to say them. And then if the clock is set to a certain time or something, like it just gets, right?
Yeah.
Rules upon rules, and it gets very complex.
Yeah.
But if you just play the base, simple, right? It's already complex enough. We don't need to.
It is. I mean, when you said the game was punishing to new players, I was like, well, I'm kind of one of those because I've played it a lot and I still find it's punishing. And, if I play it like 4 or 5 times in a row, I get into this groove and I can start spotting the things that aren't there cards.
Yeah.
But, I still find myself, thinking a little too hard and too slowly for this game.
Yeah. Oh, when you talk about that, getting into the groove, because that's what the deck will do. Because what will happen is you'll get those opposite cards, right? A card will come out where both objects are the wrong color. And you go, okay, so what's not here? Oh, it's the chair. Another card will come out, same deal. Okay, what's not here? It's the bottle, right? And then another card will come out and you're like, oh, wait a minute, what's not here? But it has switched. And right there is the gray mouse right there on the card. And everyone's like staring at it for like 5-10 seconds going, well, what? Because we think it's the opposite that we're looking for, what's not there, but of course it's not.
Yeah.
The mouse is there, and someone eventually realizes and reaches down and grabs it, and you're like, oh.
Yeah. Right. And there's this thing where you kind of reach for the object and your hand kind of hovers over it, but as long as you haven't touched it or grabbed it, you haven't actually taken it as a penalty. And I've played lots of times where like there's like 3 or 4 people going, and their hand is hovering over 2 or 3 different pieces, and no one can quite figure it out for what feels like an eternity. It causes a lot of laughter, this game. I think it's fantastic to play with, like you said, young kids to, seniors you can play with.
Yeah.
And that range of ages actually adds to the fun of this game because...
Agreed.
I feel like it's not an age of your brain. It's the way your brain works that makes you good at this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I've said this before, but I don't know that it's true. I mean, I don't play a brain specialist on TV or on this podcast, but I always feel like Ghost Blitz is a left and right brain thing.
Yeah.
Like if you can spot those cards that don't show the item that's not there.
Yeah.
Really well, I feel like your brain works the opposite of however mine does. I don't know that that's really a left brain, right brain thing. And
sure,
maybe someone listening will be able to put me straight on that, but I'm going to keep saying it until someone does, because that's what...
I don't think there's any science behind left brain, right brain.
No, you're probably right, but I'm going to keep saying it because I like it, because it literally feels like there's a wall that my brain cannot pass.
Yeah.
And, it's like, well, I don't know if I'm a left brain or a right brain, but it just can't pass that side to get into the other side that lets me see the cards with the items that are missing. Like I said, it hurts your brain, and that's fun. Like it hurts it in a fun way.
Yeah.
The other thing is this game, when you're playing it with someone who has a ring on or has really well manicured, sharp fingernails, it can be a bit of a blood sport.
Blood sport.
I've heard people complain like, "Oh no, I can't play with my wife because of her wedding ring is just too sharp." But it's a fun one.
I think the accessible version is spotted, but if you're ready for the next level, I'm surprised. I find this game in the thrift stores all the time. So people are giving it as a gift to families and saying, this is pertinent, right? This is going to be great. This is next level spot it.
You're going to love this.
And families are getting it and going, what? And then, and tossing it in the donation bin. Because that twist, that identification twist you have to do, that brain burny bit, can be quite unpleasant for some players.
That's kind of sad to me, actually, because it is such a wonderful game and brings so much joy to everyone. And I mean everyone we've played it with, even people who do very badly at it.
I make a routine of buying those copies, making sure they're intact, and gifting them to more worthy recipients.
Very good.
I have turned more people onto this game than I care to admit.
That's good to hear, because it is a wonderful game. It's twisty, turny, it's brain crampy, it's fun. So, Matt, why is Ghost Blitz a good filler game?
It holds a special place in my heart because we played it with Julia when she was really young. I want to say like junior kindergarten. And she would play with adults and be on par with them. Like it was like a level playing field. and it just filled her with pride.
Oh, that's nice. She is good at it. I've seen her. It's good. She is good.
Yeah, it's natural.
Guillotine. Guillotine is a darkly macabre card game about beheading the nobles during the French Revolution, with some set collection and a lot of take that. Published by Wizards of the Coast in 1998 and designed by Paul Peterson, Guillotine plays with 2 to 5 players ages 12 and up in under 30 minutes. Played over 3 rounds, players are trying to get the most valuable cards. There are 2 different decks of cards. There are a deck of noble cards with points printed on them, and a deck of action cards that you play from your hand. On your turn, you collect the first noble card in the row. That unlucky noble has been beheaded, and you add the card to your face-up cards for points at the end of the game. However, before you collect your card, you have the option to play an action card from your hand that might help you to manipulate the lineup of noble cards so that the most valuable cards are at the front of the row, waiting for you to collect them. Action cards might let you move 1 card to the front of the line, swap positions of 2 cards in the line, rearrange cards in the lineup, collect 2 nobles instead of 1, make another player lose a noble they've already collected, or give you bonus points for certain cards at the end of the game. Each card has a point value printed on it, and the winner of the game is the player with the most points. With Guillotine, I'm surprised that this game ever got made in the first place.
Yeah.
Like, if you think about it,
The theme is insane.
yeah, the theme of beheading the nobles during the French Revolution. It is pretty dark. I mean,
On the cover is a guy's head in a wicker basket.
it's
dark, man.
yeah, I don't see this game getting published today. And in some ways I find, that's a shame because it is a fun game.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I mean, it's definitely dark comedy. It's, the lighthearted cartoony artwork.
Yeah.
It does a lot to take the edge off that theme.
Very much so.
But that theme is still there,
They do include a guillotine in the box.
Yes, a cardboard guillotine.
There's a little cardboard guillotine in the box. It's like,
I think that at least half of the fun of the game is seeing these wealthy power brokers of the time, get what's coming to them. You're literally, cheering on. Yes, I got the Baron. The Baron's been beheaded. I mean, part of that is because the Baron's worth a lot of points or whatever. But, the other part of it is to see these people get what's coming to them after years of abuse and oppression. I'm not sure it's historically accurate, but, it is a fun game. It is fun to collect. It came out in, did I say 1998? Yes.
Yeah.
And, it's a little dated perhaps, but it's still fun and it has its place in my heart still because it was, one of the first games that we got into in the hobby. I remember loving the abilities on the action cards, and I still think that it does a good job for somebody who's only ever played, Monopoly and Risk, that it's like, wow, look at this. You can change the rules of the game literally every single turn and let you move cards around and steal cards from other players and get more points at the end of the game if you have blue cards or whatever.
yeah.
I like that part of the action cards quite a bit. I feel like, that's the take that element. And obviously the game can be quite mean if you're, it's a mean game. It's the theme is mean. The take element part of it is mean. The action cards are mean, but sometimes it can be fun to be mean when it isn't real life.
I think if the whole thing is mean from start to finish, then it kind of takes the edge off a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely not for everyone. I think there's been enough time between the French Revolution that it's, we don't have to say, oh, is this too soon? But, but, I think that there will be a lot of people who are like, yeah, no, I don't want to play that game, even though, Chris and Matt say it's fun.
It's still on my shelf of shame. I don't have a opinion about the game yet.
Oh, you haven't played it? Yeah, I haven't played it.
I do appreciate the art on the cards. What I find interesting is the art on the cards is so, right? These caricatures of all these different nobles and then the action cards depicting these terrific scenes. But the box is so incredibly plain. On the outside, it's just like a tan colored box with like the word guillotine across the top and just the head in the basket. And you're like,
Yeah.
But you open it up and you got all these great cards with the unique art on all of them.
It's got some fun art.
Sort of a hidden gem.
For the theme, it does have, some fun art. The noble cards in the game, they include characters like the Duke and the Baron and the Mayor and the Councilman, the tax collector. I mean, who doesn't get excited about sending the tax collector to the front of the beheading line?
Yes, please.
The unpopular judge, the landlord. I mean, the landlord has a different connotation now than it did during the time of the French Revolution.
Sure.
And then there's a host of other royal, religious, and military figures from the time in those cards. And then some of those cards even give you minus points if you collect them as they've been beheaded. There's cards like the martyr, the hero of the people, the innocent victim. If you are forced to collect them, they'll give you negative points at the end of the game. Mm-hmm. So that's always fun to kind of force your opponents to try and take one of those. Strategically, not a lot of strategy. I mean, you're just kind of playing a card and doing it. I'd say there's not a lot of, player choice. It's a lot of luck. It's not a game that you'd probably want to play many, many times in a night. No. But, if you can enjoy the fun, darkly comic theme and the cartoony artwork doesn't make it too grotesque for you, then I think it's a good introduction to set collection and take that for new gamers. I would say people who like Munchkin or Flux is definitely one they should give it a try. It's got that same kind of chaos feel, like,
nice.
Oh, I'm going to do this on my turn. And then when it comes to your turn, everything is completely changed around and you have to really be tactical with what you're going to do.
So, Chris, why is Guillotine a good filler game?
Well, I'd have to say it's the only game I own where you're literally filling a basket with heads. That would be why I like it.
It's pretty great. Can't say there's so many games that allow you to do that. Love Letter. Love Letter is a hand management deduction card game for 2 to 4 players, ages 10 and up, that plays in about 20 minutes. It's designed by Seiji and I, and published by AEG in 2012. In Love Letter, players are members of the royal court, using our relationship with the royal family to get closer to the princess.
Which isn't really a theme at all.
Doesn't really come through a lot when I'm playing that game.
No, I don't really feel like that's what I'm doing when I'm playing it.
It's true. They have made a ton of versions of this game in the last 10 years, and they just retheme it with something else. It's like a Dominion thing. It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't, it's just different art on the cards. Yeah. And you're just dealing with the text and the numbers. But in 2015, AEG released A Hobbit, Batman, Santa Claus, and Adventure Time rethemes. And in 2016, they released a premium version and an Archer version, the cartoon series on Cartoon Network.
That's right, Archer, yeah.
2017, AEG published The Lovecraft Letter, which is actually a bit of a step away from the traditional mechanisms. They added another layer of stuff in that version.
Right.
Z-Man Games took over publishing Love Letter in 2019 and released Marvel Infinity Gauntlet in 2020. Love Letter Princess Ever After in 2021, and Star Wars Jabba's Palace, a Love Letter game, is due out in 2022.
I think I might actually own Love Letter in 2022 after the Jabba's Palace comes out. I'll probably buy that
You'll
one.
Finally motivate you to get it, eh?
Yeah. Now, do you have a favorite of all these versions?
I owned the original when it came out, and it was okay, but then they came out with a Batman version, and I thought, oh, wow, no, I'm going to get that to the table more than the regular version, because Princesses, what's that about? So I picked that up. Shortly after, I found the Adventure Time version, and that's the one that we play with the family, because the family is bananas over Adventure Time. And it works, because there's a princess in Adventure Time, and there's the heroes and everybody, so the banana guards play the guards. It's fantastic. But then now that I've owned 3 different versions of it, I'm kind of obsessed. I'll go out and get the Santa Claus version for Christmas and pull that out for the 2 months around Christmas time.
Right.
They're all essentially the same game. There's very little difference in them.
Yep. The Lovecraft Letter one felt different to me.
It is very different because it's got that other layer of mechanisms.
Yeah.
But the traditional Love Letter is so easily rethemed because all it is 16 cards. It's a tiny deck of cards, and it's so small and it's so popular that it started the micro game craze.
Right.
Have you heard about this?
Yeah.
Where you try to create a game with as few components and things as possible, and this is what started that movement. And we'll be mentioning another popular game from that series a little bit later. Of the 16 cards, there's only 8 different cards, numbered 1 through 8. 8 being the princess, and 1 being the lowly guard. There's only 1 8, 1 7, and 1 6, but there's 2 5s, 2 4s, 2 3s, 2 2s, and 5 1s. Each card has its own unique ability. For example, if you play the 2, you get to look at another player's card. If you play the 4, you're immune or safe from another player's actions for 1 turn. The object of the game is to make it to the end of the round with the highest numbered card in your hand. The first player to win a set number of rounds is the winner. Everyone starts with 1 card in their hand, and on your turn, you draw 1 card and play 1 card. That's it. It's as simple as that.
It is. It's really easy to teach. I mean, it's like literally, you have 2 cards, choose one, put it face up in front of you, read it out. We'll do what it says.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. It couldn't be simpler, right?
Yeah.
But what you're trying to do potentially is to hopefully knock out other players out of the round. There are a few ways to do this. If you play the 1 card, the guard, You can try to guess another player's card, and if you're correct, they're eliminated from the round. Rounds are pretty short, so there's not a whole lot of downtime. So if you were able to play the 2 on a previous turn, you might already know what that player is holding. So the card powers kind of, meld like that.
Exactly.
If a player plays a 3, then they compare their hand against another player's hand, and the lower card is knocked out of the round. So you keep going around like this. Some rounds, not all the players are eliminated. So because there's only 16 cards in the deck, the rounds are quite quick.
They are, yes.
So the player holding the highest number at the end of the round wins the point. If you need a shorter game, you play to less points.
Yeah.
It's this super quick, tight little cute deduction game. You get it in the theme of your choice. It's like 16 cards, and they usually come in a bag. So you just tie it up.
Yeah.
And you got some tokens in there for keeping track of points. The Santa version, they're little Christmas presents.
Yeah.
In the Adventure Time version, they're little candy crystals. In the Batman version, they're little Batman symbols.
Bat signal. They look cool.
The bat signal, yeah.
Yeah. What are they in the the Cthulhu one, the Lovecraft letter?
I believe they're little poker chips that have Cthulhu's on them. But the mechanisms in that one are different because there's not just 16 cards. I think there's 32 cards. There's 2 versions of each card.
Oh, that's right.
There's the cursed version and then the not cursed version. I forget how the details. It's almost different enough to not even mention.
That's right.
Because the Hobbit version, the Batman version, the Adventure Time version are all identical.
Are identical with just different artwork and different theme.
Yeah.
I have to say, I am like Olympically bad at this game. like if there was, gold medals awarded for somebody who can lose at this the most,
that's awesome.
While trying to win, I would definitely be a gold medal winner. I am horrible at remembering all the little things. This person has this card. They played that one. There's 2 of those cards. They're all gone. I can't remember all those things. And I found out from playing this game specifically that I'm not really good at reading people around a board game table.
Right.
I'm not sure if I am in normal life, but I'm certainly not around a board game table.
I don't think I am either, but there's that element. When you play a card, you don't create a discard pile.
Right.
You put it down face up in a line. So the 1s are on one side and the 6s are over here. And so you can card count very easily to determine.
That's right. That's right.
As the round goes on, there's less and less cards to choose from.
Yeah.
So the guessing people's cards becomes easier. And there's all these little tells that come out through the mechanisms, not necessarily through, the looks or the side glances or the sweaty palms.
Right. No, that's true. I could see that. Like I said, I'm bad at it, so I hadn't even thought that deep into the strategy, I guess. It's one I can't get my head around, that's for sure.
It's not that there's a lot of strategy, but for 16 cards, it's a lot of strategy. Yeah.
True. So why is Love Letter a good filler game?
Well, you can own several copies of the same game. You only need to know the rules for one, but you can fill up your entire collection with a single game. You can have your Santa version, your original version, your deluxe version, your Cthulhu version, your Batman version. Pretty soon you've got 10 games in your collection. It fills it right up.
Very good.
We're going to get back to the show after a brief message. This next ad is for Chris's own company, Geeky Goodies. If you'd like to hear what an ad for your game, product, or website might sound like, drop us a line at escapeintoboardgames@gmail.com. When we escape into board games, we're always wearing our Geeky Goodies t-shirts.
They are great conversation starters for gamers and non-gamers.
But did you know that they also sell masks, socks, hoodies, game room posters, mugs, and so much more?
All things board games.
All things geeky.
Visit geekygoodies.com and use coupon code ESCAPE for a 10% discount off your purchase. CuBirds. CuBirds is a set collection game for 2 to 5 players, ages 8 and up, and it plays in about 20 minutes. CuBirds was designed by Stefan Alexander and published by Ketchup Games. The game starts with 4 rows of face-up cards, each with 3 different birds. The players start with a hand of 8 bird cards, and the game ends when a predetermined number of birds have been collected by one player.
Mm-hmm.
On your turn, you must choose a bird from your hand and play all the birds of this species on either the leftmost or rightmost side of one of the 4 rows in the center of the table. If the cards you played match one or more birds of that species in the row, you get to take all the cards that are between these birds into your hand. This is really the basic way that you will be collecting sets of birds.
Yeah.
After you've played a bird species to the table, you have an option to complete a flock. Each bird type has a minimum number of cards required of the same species to complete a flock, and a larger number that qualifies as a larger flock. If you meet the minimum requirements for a flock, you score one of those cards face up in front of you as a set, or 2 cards if you completed a larger flock. The game ends immediately when a player has one of the 2 possible winning conditions, or when it's no longer possible to deal 8 cards to each player at the start of a new round. So a lot of people like the art. You've played this one, Matt. We've played it together. Yeah,
I have.
A lot of people like the art.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan, I have to admit. Usually I'm one that's drawn to the art and the cards, and this one is not one that appeals to me.
I mean, it's a game about birds, but it doesn't look like birds, right? It looks like computer emojis or something.
Yeah, it's a play on words. The name is CuBirds. So it's kind of like they're all cubed, right? The birds are all square and cube-like with little feet. It just, It does nothing for me. I don't know. I like the game a lot. Like, I really enjoy it.
Yeah, the mechanisms are pretty slick.
But the art doesn't really do much to do it. What I like about this game is how every turn you have to give away cards, and essentially you're giving them away to your opponents.
Yeah, in big chunks, right?
Yeah, in big chunks. Sometimes you're giving away like 4 or 5 cards to get, that 1 or 2 cards that you've been collecting the whole game or really want.
Yeah.
And so you have to be really careful with that. And I love that, the drama of that decision,
Mm-hmm.
It's like, do I give these cards to Matt in order to get that one, flamingo card that I've been trying to collect to finish my flock kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's some push your luck to CuBirds as your opponents are watching what birds you are collecting. And you have to decide when you want to cash in. Do you want to cash in and score 1 card for your flock? Or do you want to push your luck and hold out in hopes to get the maximum number and get 2 cards towards your flock? Mm-hmm. That's a bit of a push your luck, and it makes the drama and the tension a little bit more interesting and exciting. So a round ends as soon as a player has no cards left in their hand. That happens in the middle of your turn. So you play a bird, you have to play all the birds of that species.
Yeah.
And at that point, if you have no cards left in your hand, the round ends immediately, and everyone who's been holding their cards, pushing their luck, hoping to get a larger flock or whatever, they have to discard all of their cards.
Everything.
Everyone discards their cards. You deal out 8 new cards, and a new round starts with you.
So harsh.
Yeah. It's so very harsh. But it's an interesting way to create some sort of player interaction in this kind of game too, right? I mean, you can be watching how many cards people have in their hand, and okay, he's got 11 cards. He's going to be doing some big moves soon.
Exactly.
So I've got 2 species. I'm going to just dump them and try and make him do it and start the round again and start fresh for everybody.
Yeah. So, Chris, what makes CuBirds a good filler game?
Well, I think CuBirds is a good filler game because you have to fill up the flocks of those birds as you're playing the game. The more you fill your flocks, the better you're doing.
Tsuro. Tsuro is a root-building, tile placement, player elimination, abstract strategy game for 2 to 8 players, ages 8 and up. That takes about 20 minutes. Designed by Tom McMurchie and published by Calliope Games in 2004. In Tsuro, players are dragons, trying to stay flying in the sky for as long as possible. Components consist of a board with a grid on it, not unlike a checkerboard, stacks of path tiles, and plastic dragon pawns that look like polished stones with an embossed dragon on them.
Yes. Now, we should say they don't look like dragons. They look like stones. You said that. I mean, I just want to point out that They're not actual dragons. When I heard that they were dragons, I got really excited. I was like, oh, little miniature dragons. That's going to look so cool. Having said that, though, the production on this game is amazing.
It's a little over the top, right?
It is an amazingly gorgeous, beautiful looking game. You open it up and there's like vellum in the middle, and the first page is like vellum with some writing on it.
This rice paper.
Yeah, rice paper. It's just absolutely beautiful. And these plastic dragon pawns that are, they look like stones. They literally look like stones.
Yeah. And they're, there's 8 of them, right? There's, and they all have different, like a soft sort of pastel color to them, but
very earthy. The colors are very earthy colors and just gorgeous. Beautiful design.
Yeah.
It's really, really, extravagant.
Over the top. The square path tiles always show 4 paths across it. They're all different. Each tile is unique. Paths enter and exit in 2 spots on each side. So when placed orthogonally against another tile, they create a complete path.
Right.
To set up, every player places their dragon pawn on a hash mark on the outside of the board and draws 3 tiles. Then, on your turn, you choose a tile from your hand, spin it to your desired orientation, and place it on the board in the square in front of your dragon pawn. Then your pawn will move along the path that's been laid out in front of it, and hopefully ending its turn facing a new empty square. As the game goes on, more and more squares will be taken. Eventually, it'll be hard to navigate to an empty square. Players will often run off the board, or in rare occasions collide with another player head-on, eliminating them both. The last dragon alive wins the game.
Yeah, this is like almost like a King of the Castle kind of game, a board game version.
For sure.
It's like stay on the board as long as you can.
Yeah.
If you're the last one standing, you win.
Stay alive. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, the gorgeous components, as we've already mentioned, bring everybody to the table right away. The teach is
super fast,
super simple, right? These paths, you put them down, you move your piece.
Yeah.
Stay on the board as long as possible. It's about 3 tile placements in that first-time players will turn to you and go, is there a strategy in this game? Because it's weird, because you can just get away with just, okay, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go there, and just see what happens for sure.
Right.
But yeah, what you want to do is stay on the board for as long as possible. So you want your next square to be as far away from the other players as possible so that they can't place a square in front of your pawn, moving you to somewhere where you don't want to go.
And you don't want to box yourself in so that you're,
exactly
pushing yourself towards the end of the board, the edge of the board.
Right. I will try and create 2 paths when I'm placing a tile so that if I ever get in a tight spot, I can double back on the tiles that I've just placed and go back to an empty space that I maybe have created on another side of the board.
Yes.
It's not easy to do.
Not always, yeah.
It's hard enough to create a path going in one direction, let alone, 2 paths. And, it's something that I've tried to employ.
And the game works really well. Like it plays well with 2 players. It plays well with 8 players.
Exactly. It is a different game at 8 players.
Sure. But that's something to be said too, is I don't have a lot of games that play 8 players and
exactly
not one that plays as well as this. Like this is a filler game. It's short, it's quick, it's easy to learn.
Yeah.
But it feels like there's more there than it is, especially when you're playing with 8 players.
Yeah.
So Matt, why is Tsuro a good filler game?
In Tsuro, you're trying to fill up the whole board with tiles. You're trying to stay on there for as long as possible. In a perfect game, you fill up the entire board. It's a great filler game.
Point Salad. Point Salad is a fast card drafting and tableau building game for 2 to 6 players ages 8 and up. It plays in 20 to 30 minutes and was designed by Molly Johnson, Robert Melvin, and Sean Stankwich. Point Salad is published by AEG. Cards in Point Salad are double-sided, with one side featuring one of 6 different veggies, and the other side has a unique scoring condition. The middle of the table has a 2x3 grid of 6 cards, with the veggie side up, making up the market area. The rest of the cards are sorted into 3 decks with the point cards side up. On a player's turn, they must draft either one of the points cards or 2 of the veggie cards in the market area. Your drafted cards are put into your play area, keeping them on the same side that you drafted them. Now, veggie cards provide you with sets of different veggies, and point cards provide you with ways to get points from those veggie cards at the end of the game. So you want a balance of both. You want point cards that provide points for the veggies you've been collecting. As an optional action on your turn, you may also flip over any one of your points cards, thereby giving up on collecting those points, turning it into a veggie card. But you can't turn a veggie card back into a point card. The game ends when all cards have been drafted. Points are awarded to each player by the point cards that they collected during the game. Some cards may give you 1 point for every onion card or 2 points for every lettuce, but minus 2 points for every carrot card that you collected. Other point cards might give you points if you have the most of a certain veggie, or points for every set of different veggies. The player with the most points is the winner. So super simple to play.
Yeah.
I mean, this game, is literally take a card or take 2 cards.
The rules are on the card.
Yeah, really. The rules are on the card, and how you score is literally on your card. They're pretty intuitive. If you've never played a game like this before, you should be able to figure out what the scoring are.
Okay.
Whoever has the most lettuce gets 10 points. Yay. There we go. Done.
Yeah.
I would say in some ways this game is easier to teach to new gamers than something like Sushi Go, because all the cards work basically the same. Just the points cards need to be explained, and even then they make sense on their own.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What I like about the game is during the game, you decide what cards are going to score you points by what points cards you draft. So you can change your strategy midway by flipping over some of the points cards into veggies. You can collect cards that suit the point cards that you've collected, or you can collect new point cards to fit the veggies that you were able to collect on your turn. Everyone's drafted cards are face up, so you can easily see how each other player is doing. And,
I have a hard enough time keeping track of my own score in games like these. I can look across the table and go, oh yeah, Chuck's got 15 and Chris has got 12. And Shannon's got 15, and I can't. There's no way, right? Because there's so many different cards to score.
Yeah.
And the cards, the veggies that you're collecting are changing every round. And like you said, you could get, I get 2 points for every carrot. This is awesome. But I get minus 5 points for every onion, and I just picked up an onion.
Yes.
Or I thought this, you know what I mean? And it's like, so I chalk that stuff up to luck. Because even though it's face up, ready for me to look and see, there's just too many variables, too many plates in the air.
Too many plates of veggies, yes.
Right? I can't keep, I'm like,
Yeah, but you can easily look over and say, oh, look, he's got, a whole bunch of lettuce and a whole bunch of onions. So I'm assuming he's collecting cards of onions and lettuce. So either I want to take away some of those cards for him, or I want to, just load up on carrots, for example, or something like that.
Take away some of the points they're getting. That's a lot to keep track of, but I get it.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's fun.
So what makes it a good filler game?
Well, after you fill up on your salad and veggies at dinner, you can play yourself a game of point salad and fill up on veggies and salad.
We've completely filled up this episode with fantastic fillers, but we want to fill you in on a few more. Tune in to the follow-up episode where we finish off filing our favorite fillers that are simply fantastic. Thanks for listening to the Escape into Board Games podcast. Be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Escape into Board Games.
This episode is produced by Matt McKenzie and Chris Cormier. Production assistance by Sherry Cormier. Music by John Yasut and Daniel Carlton. See you at the next Escape.